First things first, you need to identify your niche. And that means understanding where you fit in a certain category.
This episode of the Cold Blooded Caffeine Podcast is brought to you by Cold Blooded Caffeine Company, your specialty coffee roaster with a wildlife conservation mindset. Drink coffee, save the rainforest with Cold Blooded Caffeine, where 5% of the proceeds of every bag sold are donated directly back to either Rainforest Alliance or USARK to help support reptile and amphibian conservation efforts both in the wild and in captivity. Check us out today at coldbloodedcaffeine.com. Welcome to the Cold Blooded Caffeine Podcast. I'm Trey.
And I'm McKendrick.
And we are continuing our installment or our new kind of trend of having guests on the podcast. Yep. We are really, really excited with this week's guest. And that is M from Emzotic. So we have been working with M a lot lately behind the scenes. And I'm sure that for those of you that are listening to our podcast, I'm sure that you have heard of M. And if you haven't, go check out M stuff. And you're about to find out a lot more.
Right now is the good time for, and honestly, you've probably worked with her more than I have, right? So this is going to be even a learning and, exposure experience for me as well.
So without further ado, let's just bring M in and let her take over because, she's really the star of the show here. So let me see. Added M to the stage. M, how are you?
Hey.
Hi, I am. Thank you so much. I'm doing really well. I'm super excited to be here. And before we jump into everything, I just want to thank everybody who's tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So, we've been working together, like I mentioned in the intro, we've been working together pretty regularly behind the scenes for the past probably year or so. But most people have seen our collaboration with the Zen Habitats Zen Blend that we launched back in, I believe that was July or August of last year. I can't believe it's already been that long, but
we're coming up on a year.
Yeah, so it's coming up. But we did that collaboration together, and we also are working on a couple of other things that we can't quite talk about yet, but it's coming really fast. And it's actually a couple of different things that might surprise some folks. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about you, and we're going to talk about like personal branding, content creation, social media, all that stuff that goes into you being you, what you do for a living, and kind of helping other members of the reptile community and other niche markets do a better job of marketing themselves, getting their brand out there. And you just so happen to be the president of a company that does just that, right? So We Grow Co. is the company that I'm referring to, and we'll let you talk a little bit about We Grow Co. as well, and kind of what they do, and how, if people of our audience are interested, how they can reach out to you for those opportunities. But first, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and your background and how you got involved in both reptile keeping and the ferret community.
Perfect. Well, first of all, thank you for that amazing intro. I'm super excited to talk more about We Grow Co. But of course, we need to go back a couple of chapters and start right at the very beginning. I actually have a background as a zookeeper. That was really where I sort of honed my knowledge and gained a lot of experience working with exotics. I also worked as an animal trainer for film sets, so film and TV sets. And I also worked for the largest private collection of exotic animals, including giant Indian fruit bats, spring hare, meerkats in the UK. So there has been a lot of different careers that I've had already within exotic animals. And I really focused on reptiles for a long time because they were just something that I became so passionate about. There is something about reptiles in particular that is so captivating and has such an incredible community as well, which really spoke to me. So that's really where I wanted to hone my interests. And I, at one point, took it digitally, and the rest, as they say, is history.
So how long ago did you launch your did YouTube come first, or was it Facebook, Instagram, or how did that happen? And then when did you launch that officially?
So Emzotic was actually an idea that I had in 2016, and I launched my channel in very, very late 2016. I think it was December. I uploaded my first few videos, and they were actually makeup videos because
Oh,
that was
wow.
all that was. And here's the thing, that was all that was very popular on the platform at the time. I didn't think that I could reach people by simply going straight into animals.
Yeah.
So Emzotic started off as kind of a cosmetics review
So
channel.
that was you strategically did that to get the attraction to people to come to the site to see the videos, and then your plan was to transition?
Well, my plan was never really to transition. I thought that there wouldn't be a market at all for Emzotic for animals, but maybe I
Really?
could talk about cosmetics and every now and then show off a cool animal and maybe someone would be interested.
Mhm.
And the first time I showed off a few animals, everything changed. Everything changed completely. And I realized, actually, this is what I truly care about. I actually don't care about makeup.
Cosmetics.
At all. There's certain things that I do enjoy, snail mucin for my skin and things like that, which is a whole other
Oh,
story.
wow. Yeah.
But I realized my passion translates so much better when I'm talking online about what I really care about. And I released a few videos about cockroaches and giant snails, and those videos just skyrocketed and began my entire YouTube career.
Wow. And so how shortly after that, so you started out directly into YouTube and then transitioned into the other platforms. So how long before you transitioned to like the Instagram and Facebook? Or I don't even know, do you do anything on Facebook?
I have a page. I could certainly afford to utilize it better than I currently do. But I have a strong community there. They've been with me for a very long time. And I was already very familiar with Instagram and Facebook, but Facebook was more just a place I would go to have a rant about things to my personal friends, and Instagram was just food photos in a little square with a bad filter when I first started Instagram. And I slowly, as I built my brand, began to transition from Emma Locke into Emzotic. And that's really where everything did change for me, because when you start believing in yourself as a brand and putting yourself out there as a brand without having the shame around being someone who is trying to be something in a certain field, it changes everything. You have to get rid of that shyness and really commit.
And do you remember the point where you were like, wow, this could be my job? Like this could be a career. Do you remember, was there like a certain video or a certain point where you're like, I need to really invest in this because it could go a long way?
Yes, it was a surreal moment where the paycheck that Google sent me was twice as large as the job that I had at the time as an animal educator, traveling all over the UK every day, working 7 days a week, 4 a.m. until 11 p.m.
Oh my.
And a few videos doubled my income overnight.
Wow.
So then did you slowly transition out of the zookeeper,
Or was
or were
it
you
just
like,
I'm out?
I'm out, I'm doing I'm doing something else?
It was a perfect storm of me knowing that I needed to make a shift in my life and deciding to go full time. So I didn't feel like I was escaping the zookeeping. I wasn't escaping being an animal educator, but I did feel that both myself and my animals were tired. At the time, I was working 2 or 3 shows every day. It could be London to Southampton and back again, which is quite a drive. If you're in the
Yeah.
UK, you'll understand. And even though I never worked my animals more than twice a week and never 2 consecutive days, I still felt very guilty traveling that far with them. And I
Sure.
thought, what if I could just share, but digitally? Can that still translate through a computer screen, the amount of passion and excitement that one can gain from these animals? And to my delight, it could.
And I think maybe even more so because people can build relationships with those individual animals more so than maybe like a one-off educational experience,
Well,
right?
and of course the reach is much further too, right? When you're going digital versus just going from place to place. So that's pretty interesting. I know for us, like I just thinking about just the relationship with us and coffee, like it was almost just like, fate, right? Like things happened in a way that allowed us the opportunity just to commit to this coffee business. And it was almost just like, cut it off and walk away. But things just kind of fell in line in a way that allowed us to, and Trey was first. Then I came, I don't know how many months later, few months later.
Yeah, you were a couple months behind.
Yeah.
I saw the opportunity. So we did Tinley March 2022.
So that was interesting because 22.
And
we're both still
we were
working.
both still working full-time jobs. Did the show. That was our first show ever as Cold Blooded Caffeine. And we showed up and we sold out. We sold every drop of coffee, every bag of coffee, everything. So I went the next week, it was like the Tuesday after, and put in my 2 weeks at work and said, I'm out.
Now I'm sitting here with Trey at Tinley the entire weekend, and I get a text saying I just submitted my resignation. I'm like, you can tell me that over the weekend, but he drove back, and I think he had a little too much time. Driving 17 hours, thinking, "Oh, I'm not going back to corporate America." So
it was a little bit different because I had my job. My coffee job did not pay as much as my full-time job, unlike yours where you had the double of the paycheck, but the same kind of thing where the realization that you can do something that you really enjoy staring you in the face and saying, hey, now it's on you to pull the trigger on that. I think it's a really interesting story. And I think a lot of people, are risk averse enough that they miss that opportunity. And so I'm really excited to have you talk about it so that hopefully other people who share some of your passions and some of, like, I think you have a great personality for what you do. And there's a lot of people out there that have that same personality that may not recognize that they have potential to do something in the content creation space. So back to that content creation idea, do you have a particular kind of does a particular content resonate better with your audience, and how did you kind of come up with that system of figuring out what your image of Emzotic was going to be?
Sure thing. Those are great questions. I knew that my vision for Emzotic was always to be educational but entertaining. So I coined the term edutainment. And that's really the place that I approach my content from, is how can I really create a good marriage between entertainment and education, because you need the two in order to engage people much of the time. And that's just what excites me. And if you're putting out content that you would watch, whether it is aimed at you as a child or you a little older or just you who you are now, I do truly believe that your authentic vibe attracts your authentic tribe. And people can smell inauthenticity a mile away. I can just tell you that right now. You can tell if someone's having fun, and you can tell when someone is just doing it for the camera and for the paycheck. So when you do find the way that you enjoy presenting, regardless of how exciting you feel your personality may or may not be, you'll realize there are people who are looking for someone exactly like you as a creator. And a great example of that is the reptile space. Dave is very different from Clint, is very different from myself, is very different from Emily at Snake Discovery, is very different from a ton of other creators, including others whose faces you never see. It's just voiceover or just close-ups of tanks, for example. And a lot of these mega influencers have managed to create these wonderfully massive platforms and nurture these huge communities, because they're simply approaching their content from a place of authenticity. So that was me being authentic to myself, was the edutainment aspect.
And you mentioned it, right? The authenticity piece, I think, is huge, because for those that have never met you in person, you are exactly the same in person as you are on your videos. And that's a huge compliment, right? Because, well, you're awesome on your videos, you're an awesome in person, but also it has to make it easier than acting, right? Like if you were not that person on camera, but you can put it on for the camera for 14 minutes or 15 minutes for a video, that's one thing. But then going into public and like going to a show like Tinley or some of these other, you know, I know you do like Flora Fauna and things like that, and being in front of people all weekend and having to fake it would just be incredibly draining, right? And I think it could limit your career as a content creator, because at some point you're just going to get tired of acting. So the authenticity piece, I think, it's really huge in developing that brand. And all of the content creators in the reptile space that I know of that are successful are their authentic selves whenever you talk to them on screen versus off screen, right? If that's the off screen, in person.
Yeah.
Off screen, in person. Yeah.
Like Emily, you mentioned Dave, you mentioned, you know, we have relationships with both of those as well. And they are the same people, they in person as they are online. And I think that helps with the longevity and bringing people into their fan base and keeping people there, because when you meet them, you know what you're going to get. So
I agree with you. And there is truly space for every kind of personality and energy level in every niche, whether you are looking to be in fashion or tech or animals or automotive repair content. There is space for everyone if you are your authentic self. There is someone looking for exactly you. And that's really what I tried to apply into my content. I developed a series called The Creature Feature, since you asked earlier about the kind of content that really resonates with my audience. That is exactly the style that I like. Something informative with some humor in there, some really fun, great shots of animals, and importantly, real interaction with these animals. And that's something that I really poured my heart and soul into with these early creature features that I did, is you get to see me interacting with the real animal, whether it was a three-banded armadillo, a giant Indian fruit bat, or a meerkat. It's me with the animal, and that live kind of presentation style really engaged people, because you're not just looking at a person talking to you. I'm demonstrating, right, showing, and the animal has its own thoughts at the same time. And it might get a little chaotic sometimes, and it can be very endearing because the relationship that I have with all of these animals is very special. And they all have their own personalities, which sometimes clash with me. And it can make for really funny viewing when they're over filming and I still need them to be here, but they've decided to go and hang out in the background. It's like herding cats or herding ferrets, which is pretty hard.
That's awesome. So if you were to recommend someone in the content creation space of how to get started, so like someone sees you, is inspired by you as a creator, what would be your like just one, hey, start here advice on how to get started?
First things first, you need to identify your niche. And that means understanding where you fit in a certain category. So I've already identified my niche as an animal educator within the broader pet space. So identify where you feel you fit best, where you would like to serve, educate, or entertain, and bring value to people. Bringing value is incredibly important as a content creator. You have to give people a reason to follow you. For me, I want to make people feel better every time they watch a piece of my content. I don't want them to leave any content, whether it is a story on Instagram or a reel or a static post or a long form piece of content on YouTube, feeling any worse. They should feel uplifted, inspired, that they've gained something. That is my niche, is to make people feel good and teach them about animals and how they can better serve their pets. So finding your niche is super important. And then, of course, taking that step and reserving your accounts. So a great way to start, and I know this is two, but bear with me. A great way to start is to think about, do you want to be using your own name, or would you like a brand? So for me, I took M and exotics and made Emzotic. Bingo, that felt good to me. And as soon as I did that, and I had my vision for who I wanted to be within the space, I went onto YouTube, Instagram, every single platform that I thought I would like to potentially have an audience and create content. And I reserved the exact same handle on every platform, which makes it so much easier for my audience to find me. If they want to find me on X or Threads or anywhere at all, it's always at Emzotic Official. And that was a struggle, let me tell you, to use that name, because Emzotic was, yes, Emzotic was taken on a few different platforms. So I had to go with something that was still Emzotic, but official. So I just went with Emzotic Official, or I could have gone with Emzotic Online or Emzotic Animals or That Girl Emzotic, but Emzotic Official just seemed concise. And the amount of soul searching and getting over myself that I had to do, because at the time I had friends who thought, why did you just change your Instagram from Emma Locke to Emzotic Official? Like, who are you trying to be? What is this? Is this like a midlife crisis type thing? You know, what's going on? And so I really felt
Why did you
terrified.
adopt an American accent when you criticized all your friends?
That was the actress.
Is that was the actress? Yeah.
That was the actress. That's a whole other story. We don't have to go into today.
Sorry, go ahead. I was like, man, I'm offended. She changed accents and is talking in an American accent when she's making fun of people. No, I'm just kidding.
When you're in another country for half a decade and you learn that there is wonderful attitude, you do sometimes adopt the attitude.
I love it.
Very glad to adopt it at times. But yes, I did have to get over myself and just think to myself, I want to do this for me, and I don't care what anybody else says about it. This is going to make me happy, and I'm going to commit to it, even if that means some people say that they're not supportive of it or make fun. I don't mind. This is for me, and this is for the people who do want to find my content.
And I think that's a good point when you're treating it as a business, and I assume at that point when you had gone into the Emzotic kind of phase and started changing everything, it was the realization where you could see an income coming from that. Is that correct? Like at that time frame? And
yes.
And so treating it like a business, you're going to get people, whether you start a business, whether it's a t-shirt company, a coffee company, or anything, people are going to be like I got the same question. Like I mentioned, I quit my 6-figure job to start a coffee company, and people are like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So you're going to get that either way. You, if you're going to start a business, you're going to have to get over that discomfort. And I say that as lovingly as I can to people, but you know, it is what it is. You're going to get awkward questions. So
Absolutely.
that's really, really great advice. And back to the authenticity piece a little bit. Have you ever encountered issue like you mentioned to us before we went on, you're an open book, and you see that come through on your Instagram and on your YouTube as well. Have you ever encountered any challenges to being authentic? Like I'm sure putting yourself out there and being vulnerable in that kind of space is not easy. Can you talk a little bit about why that's important to you, why you do that? You don't have to go through specifics or anything, but like why are you that authentic?
We are going to get specific here, if I may. It's because I want to help not only people help their animals and pets, but also to help themselves. I often joke with my friends that I'm a walking, talking a cautionary tale of sometimes things that you don't do in your life. And I have made a lot of interesting choices and a lot of mistakes. And a lot of that came from not having guidance, being hyper independent and not wanting to rely on other people's advice, and just getting myself into tons of tangles and really coming to terms with certain things about myself as a human being that I wanted to change, but was finding difficulty in addressing. And I found that as I showed people how to take better care of their pets and animals, by showing how I take care of myself, kind of like a pet or an animal, I have to look after myself too. You know, I have to look after my diet, look after my mental health, look after everything about me so that I can look after my animals as best as possible. That really resonated with my audience. And something really special about the animal community is that people are hugely empathetic, deeply emotional creatures a lot of the time, very complex in so many ways. And I think that's why so many animal people do resonate with animals, because animals have such a purity to them with how they engage with us. And I think a lot of people who are drawn to animals do have those sensitivities and do long for that pure connection with another living being. So to show that through my content and to make people go, did she just talk about her struggles with bipolar 2? Is she actually talking about surviving domestic violence? Is she really talking about depression weight? These things really resonate with so many people who think they are alone, and they feel that they are ashamed and that maybe there's no way out. And if Em is running these businesses and working in businesses and looking after animals and seems to be doing great every day, she clearly can't be affected by any of that. I'm affected by it all, and I will share it and show you that no matter what you're going through or struggling through, it's really nothing that you can't overcome, and that you can have success and shoot for every single goal that you have, regardless of what it is, and especially content creation, because there is so much space for people to be content creators right now that it doesn't matter what you're going through. And I want people to see that.
Wow, that is awesome. So it's amazing. I'm sitting here because I'm learning more about M from this conversation, and I'm supposed to be asking questions. I'm glued like I'm watching a YouTube series here. So sorry, leaving Trey to ask all the questions, but that is absolutely amazing, and I think that is great to be that authentic. And have you ever struggled with that, like early on, to figure out how much of your personal self and personal life to put out into, the world? And at some point, did it just become like just natural? Like, you know what? There's no difference between who I'm trying to be on camera versus who I am off camera. Let me just let the two merge and let the world see who I am.
Yes. So I come from a very traditional family where most of my family members are not on social media. As my mother would say about Facebook, she doesn't want her face in anyone's book. She is very uncomfortable with the digital space. So to have me, who was already playing with snakes and films and now becoming someone on the line online for people to see, was very uncomfortable for a lot of family members. And they were very worried that I might paint myself out of future employment because I could be an embarrassment to a future company, that I might expose myself to people who don't have my best interests at heart. And in the end, I just had to say, you don't have to understand it. You just have to understand that this is what I want to do. This is my calling. I feel so strongly that I can help people and help people feel less alone and connect people. And this is just what I want to do. And I promise it's not going to hurt anybody else. It is just here to be a creative outlet for me to just try and do something worthwhile. And now they're all super supportive of what I do. But that was my biggest hurdle, was how am I going to affect family members, their businesses, their futures that they might want to have. Nowadays, I don't really think about it because it hasn't affected anybody negatively, and there's no embarrassment or shame. They've all become very proud, thankfully. And I'm very glad that I didn't allow other people's expectations of me and the directions where they felt I should or shouldn't be going dictate whether or not I did pursue my passion.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Trey, you had something?
Well, I was gonna go back to the community aspect of what you do and talk about what would be your recommendation. So we talked about how to get started, but building followers, building a community. So if someone like for instance, so we are fairly new to the content creation space, and we are trying to grow a brand and try and build followers and things like that. What recommendations would you have for someone that's trying to build a community? We've talked about authenticity, but any other advice about building a community, growing followers, growing that social media, platform?
Yes. Consistency is the key. Not only will being consistent in creating and posting content really help you by showing your audience that you are committed to them and that you're not just going to leave after they've made an investment in you. But it shows the algorithm that you are a cut above the rest. Everything is numbers and algorithms, and every platform has a different algorithm. And let me tell you, as a long-time YouTuber, you take a single week off sometimes, it's hard to get that momentum back up again. And right now, with all of the different platforms that have short form content, for example, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, very quick to consume, easy to scroll past, easy to share content, your content gets buried very quickly. So you have to keep on throwing something else out there to engage and hook the people who you are looking to become part of your community. So the consistency is absolutely key. And the other part of that consistency is engaging with your community. This has been one of the single most powerful ways that I have grown my audience. I will take as much time as it takes to reply to as many people as possible, because if somebody is giving me their attention, whether it's because they are following, they are liking, they are importantly leaving a comment and sharing their thoughts about my content, I want them to know how much I appreciate that they've chosen to engage with me, to share their thoughts, to be vulnerable, to cheer me on, to have a thought about whatever content it is that I'm sharing. You have to show that genuine gratitude back, because there are so many content creators, especially very large content creators, who lose that. They lose that genuine connection. They lose that gratitude. It becomes standard, and that's sad to me. So being able to show genuine appreciation has been so key. And this is why the age of the mega influencer is actually, if you step back, coming to a little bit of a standstill. And we're seeing the rise of the micro influencer. And the difference is these mega influencers are wonderful. They deserve every bit of success they had. But because they're so spread thin and there's too many people to respond to, people disengage. But people want to feel appreciated. So they'll go to the smaller influencer who much of the time feels like more of a genuine, authentic connection, and receive a comment back or a DM. And it's these small ways of rewarding your audience for their time and effort that has them coming back to see, well, they gave me that bit of encouragement last time. Can I get that again? And I will try my best to give it time and time again, because I genuinely care. And my audience genuinely feels that they know me, because they do. As invested as they are in me, I'm invested in them. I recognize the same handles. I'll recognize them on different platforms and say, hey, I know you from Threads. Thank you so much for finding me on Facebook. And they'll go,
Right.
I cannot believe you remember me. I try my best. It's a lot of work, but it does pay off.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that has to be a lot of work to do that. Now, do you ever think, I mean, because the objective is to continue to grow, gain
Yes.
followers, get bigger, right? So what happens in the event you get to whatever 10 million people following you, right? So do you ever think you would have someone else managing your social media, or do you think you would just continue to manage it yourself and just try to be as responsive as you can based on, the types of comments and DMs that you get?
It depends on the type of account you are. There's two different types of accounts. You have a personality driven account like myself, or you have a more of like a brand for a product or a company. So really individual personality or a company. So for example, if we take Cold Blooded Caffeine, that comes under company. And regardless of who answers, whether it's you, McKendrick, or you, Trey, they're still getting the same kind of vibe. It's the company vibe. However, with my following, I will always be in charge of my account, because I want them to know that if they are coming to me and engaging with me as a human being, they believe that they are talking to me, that they are, whether they receive a DM response or not. It is me. It's not someone I am paying to handle that. And there's nothing wrong with paying someone to handle that. There are plenty of other personality-driven accounts who do, but it's my personal preference. And I think it's obvious when you know that the real person has engaged with you. You can't really fake that. No matter how much you pay someone, you can't really fake that. I have my own way of speaking, my own phrases, and it's difficult to teach a personality to a person. So there's no right or wrong way to do things. But again, that authenticity comes from me having that very close connection with my audience, and they know that it is always me.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Now, do you emphasize more on the YouTube side, Instagram? Like, do you have one that you have a kind of a personal preference over the other, or really is, just trying to grow each one equally?
I think it's important to have a presence on multiple platforms, because that's the way that a user of social media works now. There are those who will go from one platform to consume a long form piece of content, but then they want to see what's up on Instagram, and let's go see what these creators are up to. And I'm not going to go to each individual profile. I'm just going to click along the top to the stories and see who's doing stuff today and what does their day look like. So for me, I think I was going to say average user, but there's nothing average. They're all outstanding individuals. They enjoy the long form. That is their favorite. And I do enjoy those long YouTube videos where I can get really in depth with ferret care, or reacting to other videos and breaking down behaviors of animals. Those are my favorite things to do, and that translates. But day to day, I am so stacked that I can't every week commit to that as I once did. And I've made some changes in my schedule recently so I can go back to a long weekly YouTube video. It is important to give people what it is they want. But when I can't do that, my audience knows I am committed to Instagram. I am there every day with at least one reel and at least 5 to 10 individual stories. And that way, if anybody at any point, any time of day goes, I wonder what Em's up to, they can see exactly what I'm up to. And it can be run of the mill. It can be very surprising. It can be a little off the wall too. But that's why they follow, because they want to see what I'm up to.
It usually involves the starlet that just left the background, right?
my beloved Kiba. He is my wonderful, almost 5-year-old dog. And again, he's just a part of my everyday life. He is such an amazing part of my life, and again, a huge part of why my audience follows me, because they love that genuine bond that I have with my dog, which is so strong. And there are plenty of child-free millennials out there, of which I count myself as one, who treat their pets like a child. And I am fully aware that that's a very polarizing topic, but my goodness, do I not love reveling in it, knowing the absurdity? And people like to see me revel in it.
As a parent, I will tell you that children are more like dogs than most parents would like to believe. So I have no problem with you comparing your dog to a child. The only difference is, well, I can't really say. Probably shouldn't lock them in a crate or something. The kids, not the dog, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I've seen you do some strange things, Trey.
It depends on the day. All right, it depends on the day.
Be careful about the topic that we're.
So back to a safe topic where I'm not going to get in trouble. I think one of the most interesting things for me is watching you transition. So I knew of you before we actually started working together, right? So like I knew Emzotic and had watched the videos, and was seeing you transform from a content creator to a business person, right? To the full transition of using those skills and using the connections that you've made and monetizing it both from a content creation standpoint, but also into relationships with other businesses. is really intriguing. So can you talk a little bit more about how you've branched out beyond just content creation, how content creation has helped build those relationships?
Yes. So my content creation, first and foremost, has opened the door to people already feeling like they know me, which is a nice thing in business because I'm not that kind of cutthroat, I'm just going to take what I can get from you. My preferred way of working with people is to build something genuine, long lasting, long standing, which is based in mutual trust and which I feel has a way to benefit everyone, whether it is myself, as well as my business partner or collaborative partner, and the people that we're looking to serve, whether that is customers who are looking to purchase something, or an audience that we're looking to share through a digital video collaboration where they're not even buying anything except for the message that we have and paying us with their time and with a view. So really that content has opened the door for people to be very familiar with me. And I've been in the industry now for probably around 16 years. So quite a while, long enough for people to have that understanding of who I am and what my genuine message is. And to understand that everything that I look to achieve comes from a place of wanting to do good. So that has been very useful in helping to open the door to that. And has really led me to working with some incredible people, not least Cold Blooded Caffeine. And again, these individual collaborations where I can create. What's that going on back there? That sounded like a party.
I have buttons.
Yeah.
Love that. But yeah, so being able to connect with businesses and individuals with whom I can create something either long lasting or even just a really genuine one-off collaboration has been such a dream.
Very cool. And so from a monetization standpoint, I know we talk, we're not going to talk specific numbers, but in general, can you give us an idea of how like you structure your income in terms of like content creation, affiliate marketing? Like how does it all work in terms of how you make money from your content? Does my question make sense?
Absolutely. And you're asking amazing questions that people need to hear the answers to. And the most honest answer I can give you if you're looking to become a content creator and to make money is you have to diversify your revenue streams. And what that means, if you're quite new to being a content creator, is you can't just rely on Reels bonuses. You can't just rely on YouTube AdSense money because these things fluctuate. So you need to really try and nurture a lot of different streams of income at the same time. And different ways that I do this personally, of course, we have AdSense, we have Reels bonuses and the TikTok Creator Fund. We have affiliate marketing. So what I do is very typical. It's been this way for a few years where you find a company whose products you enjoy. They give you an affiliate code. And every time somebody uses your code or link to make a purchase, you get a percentage, usually somewhere in the 10 to 12% range. That is usually quite standard for the industry. Unfortunately, with affiliate marketing, you're not always in control of understanding what's happening behind the scenes. You don't always have access to your analytics, your data, who's making the purchase. That all goes to the company, and you lose understanding who the customer is, which is why now through WeGrowco, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in more depth in a little while, I've actually started working in a completely new way, which is creator e-commerce stores. So I've partnered with WeGrowco, who will negotiate dropship rates rather than a traditional affiliate rate with the companies that I am super dedicated to. So companies like Cold Blooded Caffeine, like Headlight Harness, who provide Kiba with the harnesses he wears, which light up at night, which I've actually had since before he was even conceived. So all these companies who I really believe in, now people can go directly to my website and purchase there, and I make a bigger percentage at no additional cost to the customer, which helps me to better understand the customer as well, because now I have their data and I can better understand the age ranges and the regions where people are purchasing, and I can think ahead to how else can I serve these people? Which other companies can I partner with which would also benefit this customer? So that's another stream of revenue. And of course, a very big one is traditional sponsorships. So with sponsorships, you are either approached by a company or you approach a company and say, hey, I really love your tech. I would love to promote it. These are my rates. This is my rate sheet. This is what a reel would cost you. This is what a YouTube video would cost you. Or here's a bundle number if I were to do both of these things for you. And there's so many different ways that you can approach sponsorships, and then the brand pays you for that. Sometimes they ask for exclusivity, in which case you charge more because you're saying, all right, then I won't work with any other tech company for a duration of time whilst I am promoting you. Sometimes it's non-exclusive. Sometimes they want you to commit to a certain amount of views and conversions. And if you don't achieve that, they might have a make it right policy where you continue to work for the company until you hit that. So there's a lot of different nuances into understanding how to monetize. And of course, a very, very, very big one that no creator should ever be without is your own products, your own merchandise. For me, that would be the sales from my book, which I wrote a few years ago and released. And it's also my merchandise, so my hoodie sets and things like that. All of this is very important to contributing to ongoing success as a creator.
Man, what awesome advice, man. I think that's really what people needed to hear. And diversifying revenue streams and thinking of it as a business, not putting yourself all your eggs in one basket and like this, oh, I'm going to make $1 million doing YouTube videos, but it's cumulative, right? It's all of the additional things that can come in. And so I think you made a great segue into We Grow Co. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that because, not to get too specific, but I love the idea as a business, as a brand who creates a product. I love the concept of drop shipping, because it integrates with my process. Like I have a brand, I'm a manufacturer, I make a product,
right? And
having something that is easy, that integrates, that I see orders and I don't have to do any other steps is huge. So and I think it makes it easier for content creators or people that you're working with to connect with brands because it's easy on the brand. You're not making a brand goes out of their process or something. So talk about We Grow Co., what you guys do, and why is it? I know it's a huge deal and a huge game changer for this industry, but talk about why you guys think it is as well.
Well, first, I need to take it back a few chapters because before there was a We Grow Co., there were just some pretty awesome people with pretty awesome values. And that's really important to share, if I may.
Please.
Brilliant. So back in 2020, I don't mind mentioning that I was in a very difficult place. I had just escaped a very scary situation, which was a very toxic situation, and I had less than nothing to my name. I was living in a friend's spare bedroom, practically off of her charity for a few months because I had less than nothing, to the point that I was cutting Cliff Bars into 3 to eat throughout the day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I really needed to upgrade my enclosures. I had fled from one state to another at the drop of a hat, and I couldn't bring my nice enclosures. And all I had were these glass tanks, basically, which were not holding heat. And my ball python was getting an upper respiratory infection. And I thought, I need to make a change here. And I saw Zen habitats, which are the enclosures that you can see behind me. And I thought, these are great. Let me reach out and see if there is a collaboration opportunity. So I reached out to Zen Habitats, and they loved the vision that I had for their enclosures, and they understood what I was going through. and they really wanted to help me. So they sent me my enclosures. I made my videos as I said that I would, and they very quickly said, "Would you like to work with us part-time?" I said, "Absolutely," because Heidi and Randy, of course, the rest of the team as well, are some of the best people you will ever meet in your lifetime. And they started Zen Habitats because they truly wanted to change the lives of reptiles, and they have a million times over. And I was so grateful for that opportunity. And as I began to work more closely with them from part-time to full-time and understanding what made them so good in business, I wanted to learn more about their processes and their ethics so that I could apply that to my future goals of running my own animal type businesses. And every step of the way, they have nurtured me as a human being who wants to be an entrepreneur. There is no question I cannot ask, no task that's ever too difficult that I have to feel I can't get help for. They've really helped to nurture me as a human being. And as we worked closely together, we realized that my expertise as a content creator and their expertise in creating a new business really meshed so well together, because there is this world of digital marketing, which is so powerful. So they wanted to fix some of the issues that I knew I had as a content creator. I'm not always in charge of the metrics. I can always feel like I can do better, but certain companies made it very difficult to work with because they had their own structures and it just didn't serve me, even though it served them. So they said, how can we make this better for companies and for content creators? And that was the true story behind the beginning of We Grow Co. Is they have done an incredible job building a brand for the pet community, but using all the skills that one would need to build any kind of business. And I've done my own work in understanding the mind of a content creator, what's important, how to motivate them, how to drive sales as a content creator. You put those together, you have the perfect storm of absolute revolutionary mindset and trends, new trends in the space. And We Grow Co. is essentially a company that's here to help anybody who is looking to grow within the digital space, whether you are a small business or a content creator. We're creating e-courses to help both navigate the space. So for the content creator, for example, one module that I've been working on to release this e-course at the beginning of April is how to approach companies and how to pitch yourself. And then for the business side, it's how to identify the right content creator for you and how to make sure that you're setting the correct rate. So they're really helping one another through both the business aspect and the content creator aspect, and all of the history that both myself and others in We Grow Co., like Heidi and Randy, have experience in, where we can help both sides.
And having the opportunity to work with Heidi and Randy, I will say that you couldn't have put it any better in that. I've never really met a CEO of a major brand within an industry be as approachable as they are, and for them to be a part of the foundation of We Grow Co. really kind of sums up what you mentioned, and what their real mission is to help other people. Like, they're approachable, they are willing to help, navigate, because like we, as a business and as a relatively newer business, you don't really know what you don't know, and you can oftentimes get yourself into situations where you can limit your growth potential because you just don't have the expertise in those areas.
Right.
And like McKendrick and I are really great at logistics and manufacturing and operations, but we don't know anything about digital marketing or social media content or things like that. And company like We Grow Co. can step in and really help push that forward and elevate you beyond what you as an individual can do. So can you elaborate a little bit more on the services that We Grow Co. offers? And go ahead and pitch it. If somebody wants to reach out, let them know how to reach out.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in WeGrowCo, the best thing that I can tell you to do is to get on our mailing list, which you can do by going to wegrowco.com. And WeGrowCo is spelled WeGrowco.com. So We Grow Co, like we grow companies, collaboration, commerce, We Grow Co. And you can find out a lot more by getting on our mailing list. We offer for brands the opportunity to work with us to bring new products, new ideas to the market, and to show you have the best success with how to do that using our tried and true methods. It's almost like a mentorship so that you're not by yourself launching something in the dark, hoping that it hits. We can guide you through that. We can also do affiliate management. So running an affiliate program is a full-time job. I would know that because it is my full-time job. And managing affiliates, payments, chasing up content, identifying who's good to work with, building strategic partnerships, we can take that off of your shoulders and manage that for you. So that's something else that we can do. And we also do a lot of campaign management as well. So let's say Cold Blooded Caffeine, you wanted to launch a brand new tea, for example, but this is your first go at this. You've never launched a coffee or anything else. You can say, well, here's the budget we're working with. How would you allocate it? What kind of return could we expect from that? And we have case studies to show you. This is something we do very, very well. We have great relationships with incredible influencers within especially the reptile industry. So that's really where we're starting. We're starting with where we know, but in time, we're going to be branching out into tech, into fashion, into automotive repair, whatever it is that people have a goal and a mission for. We can still help you to grow. So that's really for the business side of things. And then for content creators, we want to give them the very best start and guidance to their content creator journey. So initially, we're looking at the e-course, which is going to be a fully comprehensive, up-to-date, really, really in depth, because I'm literally writing this myself and have been for months. It is so detailed and in depth and up to date, chapter by chapter video lessons on how to do everything from identifying your niche all the way to pitching, dealing with burnout, how to find creator buddies to help to motivate you, how to deal with being canceled, everything that people don't always think about when becoming a content creator. I've been there. I can help you. And so that's one way that we help creators, but also through these e-commerce stores as well. Why continue to struggle with having 30 different companies who don't know your name pay you maybe 10% for conversions you don't know you've always driven, and who don't give you access to those analytics? We will help you build a store. We will help you to identify who's good to work with. We will negotiate on your behalf to work with companies more long-term and to be able to give you not only bigger, better payouts, but also a consistent stream of revenue, and also to understand who your audience is so much better, so that when you are ready to create a brand new product of your own for your website, you know who you can actually market to.
Wow.
And I don't want this to sound like just an ad for We Grow Co, but just in general, having a mentor or having someone that has made those mistakes. Like Heidi and Randy have been around a long time in the reptile product market. Has been around for, you said, 16 years in the reptile industry, and since 2016 in the content creation space, right? That's valuable mentorship that you just can't get. You're gonna lose money and lose time trying to figure out on your own. Partnering with someone who has that experience can really help go a long way into pushing you forward faster than what you could do on your own, unless you're just a prodigy and like great like me and just know everything about everything.
Say great like me.
That's what I said.
Oh my
That's what I said.
But tell us how you really feel about yourself, Trey. No, I'm
Yeah.
You are such a joy to work with. I know that you hinted earlier that we've been working together more closely. The reason why at We Grow Co we are selective with who we work with is because we need clients like you. We Grow Co is not just going to hold your hand and expect you not to learn anything. You need to have that drive where we're truly nurturing true entrepreneurs, people who are not just sayers, but doers, because we move fast. We want to see success as quickly as you do, and we move fast, and we will not settle for anybody who's just going to say, well, I kind of want to be a creator. I kind of want to. No, you have to want it, and you have to have that drive and passion.
And the accountability piece is huge as well. Like having that, knowing that you have that relationship and having someone that is gonna, like, you're not gonna yell at me if I don't have updates, but I feel like I need, like, there's that certain level of accountability, right? That I'm gonna have to report back at a certain time with this information. It helps prioritize as an entrepreneur all the other stuff that you have going on. Yeah, it's really wonderful. I can't think of a better group of people to put this together and to run it. And so I can't recommend highly enough. I'll get there eventually. I can't recommend highly enough We Grow Co. just because of, like, hopefully now you understand who is behind that company, and you're never going to have the access to that group of people in your corner than what you get with We Grow Co. So we're getting close. We just hit the hour, around the hour mark, so I'm gonna try and wrap it up a little bit. Advice for any potential influencers that may hear this. So if you could say one or two things of someone that is throwing around the idea of starting a YouTube channel or throwing around the idea of starting a personal brand, what would you give them?
Get out of your own way and start today. That's what comes to mind, because every day there's somebody out there in the niche that you want to be part of, that you might want to make money in, that you might want to connect with people in and find success in. There is somebody out there who's not putting in half the effort that you could, who's getting paid much more right now than you understand your worth. So you just need to start. Your first few videos, they are going to suck. I'm letting you know right now, they're going to suck, and it's going to be painful, and you're going to cringe into your pillow at night and just want the bed to swallow you up and never spit you out again. But you just have to go for it, because if you don't break that seal, you will stay scared and small and not reaching the people who need to hear your voice and need to hear your message. You have something that nobody else can bring, whether it is your enthusiasm, your storytelling, your expertise, your experience, whatever it is. People are waiting for you as a creator. Every day, people are looking and searching the internet for hours for your content. So just get out there and make the start. Just figure out what your brand or individual name is going to be. Just reserve that handle. It doesn't matter how much of an imposter syndrome you feel. I feel imposter syndrome every day. But guess what? So do the biggest creators. Every day. The difference is we don't allow it to paralyze us. You have to persevere through it. And you can do that by just making the most basic of starts today. Make that commitment. Just say, yes, I am ready to do this. Or yes, I'm ready to get on the sign up for the We Grow Co e-course for content creation. Yes, I am going to just reserve those handles or reserve a blog for myself. Do one thing that scares you today, no matter how small it is, and you're already so much further tomorrow than you were today into reaching your goal.
I think so that's motivated. The perfect answer. I love it.
I'm motivated.
I think that's the perfect answer. You quit to be a content creator. You are a content creator.
Well, I'm gonna go work for him.
You're gonna work.
Come on over. Let's go.
I think I'm going to piggy it back on that just a little bit, because I think it was the perfect answer. But to your imposter syndrome thing, none of us thought that we were going to be who we are, now. Like, if you would have said 2 years ago that I would get to talk to Em, or I would get to talk to Emily from State Discovery, or get to talk to even Brian Potter at NARBC and all the people that you see on people's YouTube video, Dave Kaufman, and to talk to them and have a relationship and them know who I am, I would have been like, you're insane. But the first step is just starting, right? People, like, they're people too. You're a person, you're a great person, but you're just a person, right?
Exactly.
And so are we, and you don't know unless you try. And I think that's perfect. Get off your butts, go reserve a YouTube.
Do something that
or
scares you.
Do something that scares you. I love it. And then, you know, we'll kind of wrap it up from there. Closing thoughts. Do you have anything that you would like to leave our audience or, you know, anyone else tuning in that you would like to leave them with before we sign off?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is a quote that I love and I try and live by. And you may have heard it before. You miss 100% of the shots you fail to take. And it doesn't matter if you're looking to be a content creator, start your own business, or whatever your goal is, please just do it. And you will have so much, just you'd be amazed when you look back and realize that you can't see just how much potential is in you until you start. There are so many people out there who, if they had never just taken that first step, would never have built multi-billion-dollar companies. And so many people that I have met who have done incredible things, and that's most of the people around me, have achieved what many people feel that they couldn't achieve in 10 lifetimes. But they do it because they wake up and make that commitment every day to, instead of just say it, they do it and figure it out along the way. You have no idea the amount of potential inside you until you actually start. And then it becomes a snowball. It's very addictive in many ways. Action is addictive. And when you start to see results, and it takes a while, it leads you on to something else and leads you on to something else. And you can't see looking forward all the dots and how they're connected, but looking back, you can see how the dots are connected. And there is no such thing as a wasted experience. It doesn't matter if you spent X amount of years working in a kitchen or a restaurant or anything else. You will gain experience that will help you in whatever life you choose to forge for yourself. You just have to have the courage to do that. And if we at WeGrowCo can help you to do that, then absolutely we want to harness that and help you to reach your fullest potential, whether you're a creator or a small business or you just have an idea.
Wow.
Well, Em, we love you. We appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, this has been
Thank
great.
you so much.
I have learned so much from everything that you've shared. Like, you've been a phenomenal guest. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast.
If anybody wants to reach out, join Creature.
Well, my community are called the Creature Crew. So if you are following me or you want to join the Creature Crew, that's what I refer to our community as. And you can do that by finding me at Emzotic Official on basically any platform.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining. And that is it for this episode of the Cold Blooded Caffeine Podcast. We'll just hit the outro real quick. So this episode of the Cold Blooded Caffeine Podcast was brought to you by Cold Blooded Caffeine, your choice for wildlife conservation focused coffee, high-end specialty coffee. Check us out at coldbloodedcaffeine.com. There you go, McKendrick. Also brought to you by the Coffee Run coffee delivery service, servicing the low country of South Carolina, Charleston, Somerville, North Charleston, Ladson, Goose Creek, Mount Pleasant,
Moncks Corner,
everywhere. Check us out at coffeerundelivery.com. All right.
Thank you, Em.
Thank you, Em.
Thank you.
Caffeine out.